So the question that LT has is he's been watching videos on stuff, psychology, and he asks, what's emotional intelligence? Let's get into it. Now, I'm sure many people have heard of IQ, and IQ measures how smart you are. So emotional intelligence is kind of the same. It measures how smart you are or aware you are of your emotions and your feelings. However, looking in deeper into the subject, I realized that this is not actually psychotherapeutic theory. This is something that journalists came up with, and it does make sense, however, it's not scientifically proven. So what I'm going to talk to you about is called a feelings wheel, and we'll go over that shortly. So instead of emotional intelligence, let's talk about a feelings wheel. And I'll show a picture up here shortly and hopefully have a way to print it out in the description. However, a feelings wheel has three different parts to it. The first part is the inner wheel, and it has your basic emotions. Second part is a part of the wheel that has more in-depth emotion on the basic emotion. The third part is assigned to somebody who has probably a very, very well understanding of psychology, or they have been educated in psychology. Now, sometimes when we're doing therapy with a person, we can kind of tell when if they've gone through traumatic event, we can kind of tell around when in their lifetime it happened according to the words they use to express emotions. So somebody who says something traumatic happened to them and use the emotion like it makes me angry, it makes me sad, those are the most basic types of emotions that children know how to express. So a lot of times that would tell us that something traumatic happened to them as a young person, probably in I'd say middle school or younger. Now, talking to a person that's been through a traumatic experience from young adulthood, I would say 25 to high school, they're going to use more terms that are associated to the time of trauma when it happened. So that would be terms like apathetic or averse, I'm contempt, and that, like I said, usually will tell us that this trauma they're talking about happened to them in their youth. Now, when a person uses the words like shocked, appalled, I would say those are terms of a person who experienced a traumatic event as an adult. Now, a lot of times when people go through traumatic events, they revert back to the first traumatic event they can remember. So they could go through, let's say, a car accident that happened to them as an adult, but when they describe it, they go back to the elementary school type of words. And this might be because the first traumatic event they had was being in a car accident with their mom as a child. So after talking to LT about this, he described how he's a visual learner. So instead of talking about it, we picked up on the feelings wheel, and a lot of times we associate feelings with color. Red, angry; blue, melancholy; green, happy, things like that. So when he looked at the color wheel and it was the words associated with color, he had a better understanding. Now, here's some other ways you use a color wheel as a tool. During sessions, if I find clients that struggle with trying to demonstrate or tell what emotions they were feeling at the time of whatever it is we're talking about, I'll often hand them a color wheel, and they'll look at it, and it helps them get deep. So they start out with sad, and of course everybody knows what that means, but they look at the color wheel and they realize, hey, yeah, I actually feel, let's look at sad, I feel depressed. And then you get deeper into that, and they look at it and they're like, well, now I'm feeling hopeless. And that allows them to say out loud what they really feel. A lot of people will also bring this into a relationship. So for men, as you know, we struggle, number one, saying how we feel, much less knowing how we feel. So if you talk to a person daily, let's say your spouse, and you say, today I felt sad, or afraid, let's use afraid. Today I felt afraid. And then you kind of explain what you're afraid of, and then you use the word, well, I was vulnerable. And vulnerability is something that men really struggle with, and we'll get into that in another video. And finally, you go on the outside of the wheel, and it happens that you are actually worried. So using this in everyday communications with those you care about will really help to express how you feel. So at the end, I hope this video helped somebody maybe learn more about how to express themselves more, and what other words you can use in place of the basic sad, mad, glad, and so on. So I hope to see you soon in the other video. I hope to get a good following. If you like it, please like it. If you want to subscribe, please subscribe, and I'll see you later.